The day my sister-in-law moved in, my brother gave us a pair of expensive jade bracelets to ensure we'd get along. I immediately reached out, took one, and slipped it on my wrist as my sister-in-law watched with anticipation. But after they left, I snuck back and glued the bracelet to the underside of my brother's bed. I did this because I've lived this life before. The first time, I felt sorry for my sister-in-law and the hard life she'd had. Not only did I happily accept and wear the bracelet, but I also helped her fit into our family. With my help, she grew closer to everyone and even successfully opened her own shop, earning a reputation for having a knack for business. But as her life improved, mine fell apart. The shops I opened all failed one after another, and then I got into a serious car accident. As I lay dying, I heard my sister-in-law crying to my brother, blaming herself. "Kevin, it's all my fault. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have had to watch Joy suffer like this." My brother comforted her in a low voice. "Chloe, I was the one who suggested we swap your fates. But I'm sure Joy would have wanted this too. You're her sister-in-law. She's been happy for so many years. It's only right that she give you a chance at happiness." As they consoled each other, I finally understood. My brother, pitying his wife for her miserable fate, had used the bracelets to transfer my good luck to her. I couldn't rest in peace. Coming back for a second chance, I'm going to make my vicious brother and sister-in-law reap what they sow. "Joy, come and see. Do you like this pair of jade bracelets?" My brother, Kevin, opened the box in his hands, revealing the brilliant and beautiful jade bracelets inside. I snapped back to reality, stunned to see the familiar jewelry in front of me. Isn't this the day Kevin gave me the bracelets? Did I really get a second chance? Before I could think it through, Kevin spoke again. "Joy, what's wrong? Did you not sleep well last night?" I looked up at his question. Kevin was watching me with a worried expression, but deep in his eyes, I saw a flicker of anxiety, a fear that I might discover something. My new sister-in-law, Chloe, standing beside him, had the same look. I silently clenched the hem of my shirt, my heart filled with hatred. So the signs were there all along. I was just too trusting to see how cruel they really were. In my past life, after Kevin started dating Chloe, he often told me how pitiful she was. Right before their wedding, he even sighed and said, "Your sister-in-law just has a tough lot in life. She wasn't born into a good family, so she's had to endure so much hardship. Every time I see her getting picked on or bullied, it makes me so angry and my heart just aches for her. It was just me and Kevin in our family, and our parents had always doted on us. We were always close. So when he said that, I told him, 'It's okay, bro. You and Chloe are about to get married. From now on, just do everything you can to be good to her and help her forget all that unpleasantness.'" Kevin stared at me for a couple of seconds, then smiled. "Of course. I'll do everything in my power to make her happy." I thought everything in his power meant his own efforts. I never imagined he would target me. To change his wife's fate, he actually got his hands on a pair of bizarre jade bracelets to swap my good luck for her bad. I forced myself to calm down and offered them a smile. "I guess I didn't sleep well. I was probably just too excited to see you finally bring Chloe home." I looked down, pretending to admire the bracelets with a satisfied expression. "These are beautiful. Are they for me?" Hearing my words, a flash of guilt crossed Kevin's eyes, but he still pushed the box toward me. "Yes, one is for you, and the other is for your sister-in-law. Now that she's part of the family, I hope you two can get along." His tone was sincere, as if he genuinely just wanted Chloe and me to have a good relationship. Thinking of my past life, I smiled and took the box. "Don't worry, Kevin. I'll definitely help Chloe feel at home here." Seeing me happily accept the box, the tension in Kevin's face finally eased. He smiled and handed the other bracelet to Chloe. Chloe excitedly slipped it on in front of me, then looked at me with expectant eyes. In my past life, seeing that look, I naively thought she was just eager to get closer to me. Only now do I understand she just wanted me to put on the bracelet, so she could steal my life. I played along and put on my bracelet. Chloe's eyes instantly lit up. She stepped forward and took my hand. "Joy, that bracelet looks so beautiful on you. I heard that wearing good quality jade for a long time is really good for your health." Kevin laughed. Well then, you two better wear them every day. Chloe smiled, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear with a shy look. This is the first gift you've given me since we got married. I'll definitely wear it every day. And Joy will too, right? Seeing how eager she was for my assurance, I knew my guess was right. This bracelet doesn't swap your fate instantly. It takes time. I didn't know how long, but at least I was sure that wearing it for a little while wouldn't do any real harm. I smiled and nodded. Of course. Kevin studied my expression and finally looked completely relieved. With the plan in motion, Chloe was overjoyed. She couldn't wait to say, Joy, your brother has to work this afternoon. Why don't you come out shopping with me for a bit? Her eyes were shining, but I gently pulled my hand away with an apologetic look. Sorry, Chloe, I'm just so tired. I really need to go up to my room and catch up on some sleep. Chloe's brow furrowed instantly, and she started to say, but. Kevin quickly grabbed her arm, cutting her off. I know you want to get along with Joy, but there's no need to rush. Let her get some rest first. Chloe's face paled slightly as she realized she had been too obvious. She forced a smile at me and apologized. My bad, I wasn't thinking. You go get some rest. I nodded and turned to go upstairs. With my back to them, my eyes turned cold. I knew why Chloe was so desperate for me to go out with her. She was born unlucky. She'd choke on water and catch a cold from the slightest breeze. Now that I was wearing this bracelet, if we went out and ran into any trouble, I'd be the one to suffer the consequences. Once I was back in my room with the door locked, I went straight to the window. It was cracked open just enough that I could hear their conversation if I listened carefully. Honey, when will I finally be free of this bad luck? If this bad luck sticks with me, what about our future kids? Chloe's voice was soft and pitiful, and by the end, she was on the verge of tears. Chloe, don't say such silly things. As long as I'm here, you'll be safe and sound from now on. When Joy was little, Mom and Dad had her fortune told. She was born with incredible luck, not just with money, but with her health too. Just do what the mystic said. Keep wearing the bracelet, and soon enough, her good fortune will be yours. Kevin's voice was full of sympathy, and he didn't hesitate for a second as he said those words. It was as if the person whose life was being stolen wasn't his own sister. Even though I knew he was ruthless enough to do anything for Chloe, I still felt a pang of heartache. It was just the two of us kids, and we were always so close. Every time I got into trouble, Kevin would step up and take the blame, accepting the punishment alone. And I'd share any treats or new toys I got with him. I never thought the brother who was once so good to me would one day harm me for someone else. Clenching my fists, I fought back the nausea and kept listening. Chloe was deeply moved, her tears turning into a smile. Honey, the only lucky thing that ever happened to me was meeting you. You said before that you'd always put me first, that you'd give me all the best things. You really meant it. Silly, you're my wife. Who else would I be good to? Kevin's voice was full of affection. They continued their sweet talk, but they didn't say how long it would take to transfer my good luck to her. Just as I was getting anxious, Chloe's phone rang. I couldn't hear what the person on the other end said, but after she hung up, Chloe told Kevin, "The thing I ordered is here. They said I can pick it up this afternoon." Honey, Joy and I just put these bracelets on, and I feel uneasy. I want her to come with me. Hearing her anxiety, Kevin's heart ached for her. Then wake her up this afternoon and have her go with you. That way, if anything dangerous happens, she can shield you from it. My eyes went cold. This afternoon was the first time the bracelet was supposed to cause me trouble. I remember it clearly. When I went with my sister-in-law to pick up her package, a flower pot suddenly fell and hit me on the head, sending me to the hospital. I lowered my gaze and thought for a moment. Pretending I hadn't heard anything, I readily agreed when Chloe came to my room later that afternoon to ask me to go out. Chloe was ecstatic. She got all dolled up and looped her arm through mine as we headed out. Joy, I feel so bad dragging you out with me when you didn't sleep well. How about this? If you see any purse you like later, I'll buy it for you. It's on your brother's dime anyway. Her smile was warm, but I held her gaze for a couple of seconds. If I hadn't died once before, who would have thought that behind such a gentle face was such a malicious soul? I let out a soft laugh. Okay. I've been running around helping with the wedding prep these past few days, so you'd better make it up to me on my brother's behalf. As soon as I said it, the gentle smile on Chloe's face froze, and her eyes filled with disbelief. Seeing her reaction, I deliberately asked, "What's with that look, Chloe? Are you having second thoughts?" "Huh. Of course not, Joy. You really have been working hard," Chloe said with a strained smile. "Your brother's busy with work, so it's only right that I, as your sister-in-law, make it up to you for him." She said the words, but her eyes were full of resentment. Of course, I knew she was just making a casual offer and had no intention of actually spending money on me. After all, from the moment she started dating Kevin, she hadn't spent a dime of her own money. When she went out with Kevin, he paid for everything. When she and I went shopping, I'd remember Kevin's advice not to mention money in front of her and would pay for everything myself. Whenever Chloe felt bad about it, she'd say she'd treat me to a meal next time to thank me. But Kevin constantly reminded me that her family was poor and she didn't have much money, so I should never let her pay for anything, not even as a thank you. So every time Chloe promised to treat me, I was the one who ended up paying. Over the years, she'd gotten used to it. She probably never expected me to take her polite offer seriously. I fought back my disgust, linked my arm tighter through hers, and pulled her toward the big mall. Chloe's body was tense. She bit her lip, forcing down her displeasure. I browsed in a high-end boutique, pointed to several bags in a row, and told her with a beaming smile to pay up. When Chloe saw I was serious, a flash of annoyance crossed her eyes. Finally, she gritted her teeth and pulled out the supplementary credit card Kevin had given her. Standing behind her, I smirked, my eyes full of scorn. In my last life, that couple took plenty from me. Even the assets I left behind after my death were transferred to Chloe by my brother as a show of his deep love. After years of them making me sick, I was definitely going to get it all back, piece by piece. I strolled out with several shopping bags in my hands while Chloe was too heartsick over the money to even crack a smile. Terrified I'd spot something else she'd have to buy, she hurriedly pulled me out of the mall. "Joy, the time I agreed on with the seller is almost here. Let's hurry over." I thought for a moment and smiled, saying I'd follow her lead. The pickup location was the same as last time, a street food area near the mall. In my past life, this was where I got hit. As we got closer, Chloe's expression grew excited. She pulled me along, urging me to hurry, not even willing to wait for the last few seconds of the red light. "Chloe, it's a red light. Let's wait," I said, feigning caution. Chloe looked across the street with anticipation, her reply unhesitating. "Don't worry. There are hardly any cars on this road. We'll be fine." With that, she pulled me into the street. Recalling her confident words, the chill in my heart deepened. Before, whenever we went out together, she was always so careful, afraid of getting bumped or hurt. But now, wearing the bracelet that could steal my good fortune, she was completely reckless, not caring in the slightest what would happen to me after my luck was taken away. A cold smile touched my lips as I glanced down at the translucent jade bracelet on my wrist, a fierce glint in my eyes. "Your bad luck is your own. You can have it back." I let Chloe drag me forward. Just as we reached the middle of the road, a car suddenly came tearing toward us. It was moving incredibly fast, swerving from side to side. When the driver saw us, his eyes went wide and he yelled, "Get out of the way. The brakes are out." Chloe froze in terror, her face pale, her hand still gripping my arm tightly. I didn't panic. I just stood there with her. Just as the car was about to hit us, Chloe suddenly snapped out of it. Probably in her panic, she didn't have time to fake it. She shoved me hard, trying to use me as a shield. But just then, the driver yanked the steering wheel, changing direction. I was thrown to the ground, but aside from a scraped arm, I was fine. Chloe, however, the one who had frantically pushed me toward the car, was hit and knocked to the ground, blood pouring from her leg. Joy, help me. Call an ambulance." Her face was ashen, and she couldn't move. A crowd immediately gathered, some gawking, others taking pictures. I didn't want to help her just yet. After all, the malicious woman had just tried to use me as a human shield. Chloe. I pretended to be in shock, taking a few seconds to react before I scrambled up from the ground and rushed over, staring helplessly at her wounds. There's so much blood. What do we do? Chloe looked at her bleeding leg and, with pale lips, cursed at me anxiously. Are you stupid? I told you to call an ambulance. Only when I figured she'd bled enough did I pretend to remember, pulling out my phone to call for help. When my brother arrived at the hospital and saw Chloe lying in bed, he turned on me furiously. Joy, you went out with your sister-in-law. Why weren't you watching her? You know she's not that strong. Lying in her hospital bed, Chloe listened to Kevin's accusations with red-rimmed eyes. She didn't mention that she was the one who had jaywalked, instead looking like the poor, wronged victim I had dragged into this mess. The smile faded from my face. Kevin, yes, Chloe was with me, but she was the one who pulled me into the street against the light. This wasn't my fault. Kevin was taken aback, then frowned. You still should have stopped her. Before he could finish, Chloe raised a hand and tugged on his sleeve, tearfully blaming herself. Honey, don't blame Joy. It really was my fault today. I was in such a hurry. I saw there were no cars and just wanted to cross quickly. I never expected a car to come out of nowhere. Her words were pitiful, and Kevin's heart immediately went out to her. He comforted her right in front of me, then angrily dragged me out of the room. Joy, when did you become so inconsiderate? Your sister-in-law made a mistake today, but she's the one who got hurt. She's already upset. Did you really have to say those things in front of her? What did I tell you before? Chloe grew up in a poor family and has never had an easy day in her life. As her family, we should be as patient and caring as possible. I couldn't help but let out a sneer. Kevin, she's your wife. You can treat her however you want. Why are you telling me all this? Anyone who didn't know better would think you married her for me. Kevin froze, looking at me in disbelief. How can you say that? Joy, you've been acting strange ever since I saw you. What's wrong with you? His tone was baffled, but his eyes also held a flicker of panic, as if afraid I'd discovered something. His gaze dropped to my wrist. Seeing the familiar bracelet, his expression relaxed slightly. I laughed coldly inside, but my face remained grim. Why don't you ask Chloe yourself? I'm going to get some food. With that, I brushed past his shoulder and went downstairs. 2 minutes later, I was back at the door to the hospital room. Kevin was frowning as he asked Chloe, Honey, what happened between you and Joy? She looks like she has a problem with you. Chloe hemmed and hawed for a moment before saying guiltily, I was in such a rush that I accidentally pushed Joy, and she almost got hit by the car. It was my fault. Kevin let out a breath of relief. I thought it was something serious. It was an accident. Why is she holding a grudge over something like that? She's not a child. In such a dangerous situation, he never once considered what the consequences of Chloe pushing me could have been. He just complained that I was being petty. I just checked. The jade bracelet on her wrist is perfectly fine, so don't worry. It's only the first day, so the bracelet hasn't had much effect yet. The mystic said that once she wears it for a full 7 days, her good luck will be completely transferred to you. Honey, you just rest and recover in the hospital for the next couple of days. Don't go running around again. After a few more words of caution, the two quickly became lovey-dovey again. I leaned against the wall, finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. The only reason I had risked coming out with Chloe today was to find out how the bracelet worked. Now that I knew, there was no need to stay at the hospital and take care of her. Glancing at the bracelet on my wrist, I pulled out my phone and sent Kevin a text saying something had come up at one of my stores, then turned and left. If this bracelet was so powerful that it could transfer someone's good fortune in just 7 days, then let's just transfer Kevin's good luck to Chloe. They're a married couple, and Kevin loves her so deeply. He'd surely be willing to give his good fortune to her. I hurried home, where an employee from one of my jewelry stores was waiting for me after receiving my message. Ma'am, here's the bracelet you asked for. Please take a look. I opened the box and examined it carefully. The bracelet in my hand had a greenish glow, very similar to the one Kevin had given me. Unless you looked closely, you'd never be able to tell them apart. The bracelet is perfect. I'll give you a bonus for this. And remember, don't tell anyone about this today. I smiled as I gave my instructions. The employee's eyes lit up, and she immediately promised to keep her lips sealed. After she left, I took off the bracelet I had managed to dig out of my room and put on the one the employee had brought. When I'd heard Chloe wanted me to go out with her that morning, I started rummaging through my jewelry boxes, looking for a match. After comparing them one by one, I actually found one that looked similar to the one Kevin had given me. If I hadn't switched the bracelets beforehand, I'd be the one lying in the hospital right now. Back in my room, I took out the real bracelet from Kevin, went straight to his and Chloe's bedroom, and stuck it firmly to the underside of his bed. That morning, I had already consulted a famous mystic, who told me that objects that swap a person's luck are inherently evil, and those who use them to harm others are even more malicious. If I wanted the person who harmed me to suffer the backlash, I should place it in the spot closest to them, where they would be in daily contact with it. I thought about it carefully. There was no better place than under the bed. In my past life, Kevin was so eager to rid Chloe of her bad luck that he even postponed their honeymoon until the end of the year. After I put on the bracelet, he found all sorts of excuses for me to go shopping with Chloe, terrified that he wouldn't be able to steal my good fortune. I remember that for the next 2 weeks, he and Chloe would be staying at home, which was just enough time to transfer his good luck to her. A sarcastic smile played on my lips as I left the room. That night, Kevin came home alone. When he saw me, he instinctively glanced at my wrist. After confirming the bracelet was still there, he said with relief, "Joy, your sister-in-law told me what happened. It was wrong of her to push you, but she was just scared and instinctively wanted someone to protect her. You know, no one ever really cared about her when she was growing up. She's timid, so she has this deep-seated desire for someone to shield her when danger comes. Anyway, don't take it to heart. It's not like you got hurt. Just let it go." He casually brushed the incident aside, and I finally exploded. "What do you mean, it's not like I got hurt? Kevin, so only your wife's life matters? You don't care if I live or die, is that it?" I confronted him head-on. Kevin frowned, his voice laced with impatience. "I just said you weren't hurt, so you shouldn't hold a grudge against your sister-in-law. Why are you overthinking this?" He rubbed his temples, his voice filled with disappointment. "I thought that as a woman, you could empathize with how hard things have been for her, but you never mind. Just forget I said anything." I stared at his face, trying to find a crack in his act, but Kevin's performance was flawless. If they hadn't conspired to kill me, his words would have made me reflect, doubt myself, and maybe even go to the hospital to make peace with Chloe. I let out a mocking laugh. Right. I was born with good luck. I've had everything I ever wanted. Of course I can't empathize with a sister-in-law who shoves her husband's sister in front of a car to save herself. Kevin seemed stunned that I would say that. Surprise flashed in his eyes, quickly replaced by anger. "Joy, I already told you she didn't do it on purpose. What will it take for you to just drop this? Does she need to get on her knees and beg you?" Seeing his anger, I didn't argue. I just reached for the bracelet on my wrist. "She doesn't have to beg. I'll just give the bracelet back to you. From now on, she and I are just strangers living under the same roof." "No, don't take it off." Kevin panicked and reached out to stop me. I glared at him. "Why are you stopping me?" Kevin's anger instantly vanished, and his tone softened considerably. "Joy, you can't take your anger out on the bracelet. It took me forever to find this pair. They cost a 7-figure sum. When I bought them, all I wanted was for you and Chloe to get along. If you smash it in a fit of anger, how will you two ever reconcile?" He held up 7 fingers. A cold smile formed on my lips. "Spending a 7-figure sum on bracelets to steal my good luck. Kevin, your love for Chloe truly runs deep." I fought to suppress the rage in my heart, and couldn't help but wonder what Kevin's expression would be when he found out I'd switched his good luck over to Chloe. He'd probably be thrilled. With that thought, I composed myself, my expression still cold. "What? Chloe is allowed to push me in front of a car out of fear, but I'm not allowed to smash a bracelet to vent my anger." Kevin's face darkened, but he forced a smile. "Joy, that's not what I meant. It's just that Chloe, He instinctively started to play the sympathy card for his wife, but quickly stopped himself. Probably remembering my cold attitude from before, he gritted his teeth and changed his tune. Your sister-in-law is still in the hospital. As soon as she's discharged, I'll make sure she gives you a sincere apology. I didn't say yes, and I didn't say no. I just gave him a long, deep look before turning and heading upstairs. Kevin ran a hand through his hair in frustration. After sending a quick text to his wife, he went upstairs, planning to get to bed early so he'd have the energy to be with her the next day. Chloe stayed in the hospital for 2 days, before coming home to recover. Lying in bed, she apologized to me with tears streaming down her face. Joy, I'm so sorry. I apologize. Please don't be mad at me. Kevin stood beside her, dark circles under his eyes. He frowned and spoke up for his wife. See, she's apologized. Just be the bigger person and let this go. I turned to look at the exhaustion on his face and chuckled softly. Fine. Since Chloe has apologized, let's just put this behind us. Kevin let out a visibly relieved sigh. Chloe wiped away her tears, glanced at the bracelet on my wrist, and forced a smile. Joy, I knew you were generous. I looked down at my phone, my tone indifferent. Something came up at my shop, so I have to go. After making my excuse and leaving their bedroom, I didn't leave right away. Instead, I stood at the door, listening for any sounds from inside. About 2 minutes later, I heard them talking. From the way Joy acted, it seems like she hasn't forgiven me yet, Chloe said, her voice full of hurt. Kevin's reply was weary and tinged with coldness. Don't worry about her. As long as she said she forgives you and won't smash the bracelet, that's all that matters. Honey, the mystic said that once she wears the bracelet for more than 3 days, her luck will be locked in, and it will slowly drain away. Today is the 3rd day. After today, you won't be so unlucky anymore. As he said this, his voice filled with anticipation and happiness. Kevin was so focused on transferring my good luck to Chloe that he hadn't noticed anything unusual happening to him. I sneered silently, tiptoed away, and waited to see what would happen once his own good fortune was completely gone. I didn't have to wait long. The next day at the dinner table, Kevin suddenly got a call. A major project he was in charge of had run into a serious problem, and he was being held fully responsible. Kevin's face went pale. He tried desperately to explain himself over the phone, but it was no use. Chloe asked with a worried look. How could something go wrong so suddenly? How should I know? Kevin snapped, his voice sharp with irritation now that it involved him. Ever since they started dating, Kevin had always spoken to Chloe in a gentle, soft tone. This was the first time he'd ever lost his temper with her. Chloe's eyes immediately welled up with tears as she looked at him, hurt. I leisurely sipped my porridge, keeping an eye on both of them. In the past, Kevin would have immediately apologized and dropped everything to comfort her. But the project that had gone wrong was the first major one he had ever handled, and it was crucial for his future promotion. With such a big project in jeopardy, he certainly didn't have time to coddle his wife. He didn't even look at her. He just rushed out the door while still on the phone. For the next 2 days, Kevin came home late at night and left again early in the morning. Despite his efforts, the project couldn't be saved. He came home looking completely defeated, like his soul had left his body. Chloe rushed over to him, worried. Honey, what's wrong? Don't scare me. Say something. Honey, my project is dead, Kevin said, his eyes vacant. Chloe comforted him tenderly. It's okay, honey. This was just bad luck. I know you'll succeed next time. She tried her best to console him, but Kevin reacted as if her words were a trigger. He shoved her away and yelled. I was watching that project every single day, and it just had to fall apart in the last 2 days. Did you give me your bad luck? Chloe stumbled and fell to the floor, staring at him with a hurt and unfamiliar expression. Kevin, how could you say that to me? She whispered, her voice trembling so much she couldn't even call him honey. I had been standing silently on the staircase watching the show. Seeing this, I walked down with a disapproving look. Kevin, Chloe was just worried about you. How could you treat her like that? Chloe rubbed her red eyes, looking tearfully at Kevin. When Kevin saw me, he instinctively glanced at my wrist. Seeing the bracelet was still there, most of his frustration seemed to dissipate. He calmed down, reached out to pull Chloe up from the floor, and gently coaxed her. I'm sorry, honey. I shouldn't have taken it out on you. Chloe wasn't really angry with him. She wiped her tears and hugged him, playing the part of the devoted, forgiving wife. The scene was so sickening I couldn't watch. I turned and went back upstairs. Honey, don't worry, everything will be better tomorrow. Chloe's comforting voice trailed after me. I paused for a second, my eyes growing cold. I knew why she said that. Tomorrow was the 7th day. After tonight, the transfer of fate would be complete. I woke up early the next morning, and Chloe was already urging me to get ready. Joy, you've been so busy with my and your brother's wedding stuff lately, and you haven't had a break in ages. How about we all go camping today? I stared at her silently, then asked casually. My brother just had a major issue at work. Is it really a good time for him to take a day off? Chloe's expression stiffened for a second, then she smiled. His company already approved it. They said he should take a couple of days to rest. I knew that was just a nice way of putting it. The ugly truth was that Kevin had screwed up at work and his boss was fed up with him. In my past life, Kevin's career had been smooth sailing. Nothing like this had ever happened. I remember that day. I had gone with Chloe to a spa. After we left, I was hit by a car that had lost control. The hospital tried to save me for hours. Kevin only showed up after they declared me dead, at which point he rushed to comfort a guilt-ridden Chloe. Chloe, I was the one who suggested we swap your fates. But I'm sure Joy would have wanted this too. You're her sister-in-law. She's been happy for so many years. It's only right that she give you a chance at happiness. I had been mourning my own tragic end when I heard my own brother, the person I trusted most, push me into utter despair. The feeling of being stabbed in the back by the person closest to you, I'll never forget it. I stood up. If they were so eager to see me suffer, then let's settle this today. I quickly packed a few things, and Chloe enthusiastically pulled me downstairs. Kevin's car was parked outside. He had a grim look on his face, clearly in a bad mood, but as soon as he saw Chloe and me, he forced a smile. Hurry, get in. We'll hit traffic if we wait any longer. Chloe smiled and got into the passenger seat. I opened the back door and got in. I didn't say a word the whole way, just kept my head down, texting my employees and handling some business. Kevin glanced at me through the rearview mirror, a slight frown on his face, and then he suddenly spoke. Joy, do you remember how good Mom and Dad were to you when they were still here? I sensed the malice in his tone, and calmly looked up without a word. Kevin had dark circles under his eyes and looked terrible. He didn't wait for my answer, and just continued on his own. They would secretly slip you extra allowance, brag on social media whenever you won an award, and they both took you to college on your first day. I know they treated you so well, because you were exceptional. You not only got good grades since you were little, but you also got into a university I could never dream of. Even though I'm your brother, sometimes I couldn't help but feel jealous. As he said the last word, the jealousy in his eyes was no longer hidden. Chloe looked at him with concern, but there was no surprise on her face. It was as if she had known all along. My expression remained calm. After being reborn, I had considered many possibilities. Maybe Chloe had proposed the fate swap, and Kevin only harmed me for her sake. Maybe he had no choice but to target me, because I was the only one who could wear the bracelet for the required 7 days. It wasn't until yesterday, when Kevin lashed out at Chloe over his failed project, that I discarded those theories. When you have eliminated all the other possibilities, whatever remains must be the truth. Kevin was jealous of me. He had been jealous of me since we were kids. When our parents were alive, they favored me, the more successful child. After they passed away, their assets were split equally between us. I used my share to start a business and successfully opened several stores. Kevin, on the other hand, lost all his money and only managed to keep the house our parents left us with my help. I thought we were each other's only family, that we should help and support each other through thick and thin. But all along he was jealous that my life was better than his. He was even willing to kill me for it. I was silent for a long moment before I finally said calmly, "So you were jealous enough to want me dead, is that it?" My reaction was too calm. I raised my hand and took off the fake bracelet. Surprise flashed in Kevin's eyes, followed by a twisted, triumphant expression. So you found out? Yes. I can only hold my head up high if you're dead. Don't worry, Joy. Your big brother will visit your grave every year. We were on the freeway. Just then, a small car from the opposite lane lost control and veered straight toward us. The two cars collided. My vision blurred as our car spun several times before slamming into the guardrail. When the dizziness subsided, I quickly checked myself. I was completely unharmed. Kevin in the driver's seat wasn't so lucky. His face was covered in blood. He said in disbelief, "How could this be?" The mystic clearly said. He stopped mid-sentence, turned to look at Chloe, who only had a few scrapes, then looked at me. He finally understood. You knew from the beginning. My bad luck these past few days. The other bracelet is in my bedroom, isn't it? His voice was weak, on the verge of unconsciousness from blood loss. I laughed softly. I couldn't just wait around to die, could I? With that, I prepared to get out of the car. Swapping fates was a dark art. The person whose good luck was stolen would suffer 10, even 100 times the misfortune in a short period. I'd better get out and get far away. Kevin obviously knew this too. His eyes were dark as he gritted his teeth and called out to me, "Take your sister-in-law with you." This was my idea. Was it? But I didn't want to save either of them. One was the family member who stabbed me in the back, the other was a willing beneficiary. Saving them wouldn't do me any good, and would just leave a bad taste in my mouth. I got out of the car without hesitation, leaving them with one last sentence. Kevin, you were the one who threw away a perfectly good life to chase after this. Whatever happens now, you brought it on yourself. Our parents favored me, that was something I couldn't control. I got into college on my own merit, started my own businesses, and worked hard to climb my way up. I did nothing wrong. I gave my all for my own future, and as for Kevin, I always shared my allowance from our parents with him. When I saw his business ventures were heading in the wrong direction, I tried to warn him and help him. I had done everything I could for him. Honey, don't scare me. Open your eyes and look at me. I'll stay with you. I'll always stay with you. Chloe's desperate cries echoed from behind me, but I was already far away. Suddenly, the car burst into flames. A few minutes later, the ambulance arrived. I watched in silence, a heaviness in my chest, but this was an ending I had foreseen. I couldn't change the jealousy in Kevin's heart. For 7 straight days, he never once stopped trying to harm me. We were destined to end up like this. All I could do was compose myself and keep walking forward, alone.